The Celtic harp is a triangular harp traditional to Brittany, Ireland, Scotland and Wales. It is known as a telyn in Breton, cláirseach in Irish, clársach in Scottish Gaelic and telyn in Welsh. In Ireland and Scotland it was a wire-strung instrument requiring great skill and long practice to play, and was associated with the Gaelic ruling class. In the Republic of Ireland, it appears on the coins and coat of arms. Early history. The early history of the triangular frame harp in Europe is contested. The first instrument associated with the harping tradition in the Gaelic world was known as a crwt. This word may originally have described a different stringed instrument, being etymologically related to the Welsh crwth. It has been suggested that the word clársach was coined for the triangular frame harp which replaced the crwt, and that this coining was of Scottish origin. 3 of the 4 oldest authentic harps to survive are of Gaelic provenance: the Trinity College harp preserved in Trinity College, Dublin, and the Queen Mary harp and the Lamont harp in the National Museum of Scotland, Edinburgh. The last 2 are examples of the small low-headed harp, and are both made from hornbeam, a wood not native to Scotland. All 3 are dated approximately to the 15th century and may have been made in Argyll in western Scotland. Many Irish harps from later periods have no provenance and could possibly be of Scottish origin. The Norman Welsh cleric and scholar Gerald of Wales, whose Topographica Hibernica e Expugnatio Hibernica is a description of Ireland from the Anglo-Norman point of view, praised Irish harp music, but added that, in the opinion of many, the Scots had now surpassed them in that skill. Gerald refers to the cithara and the tympanum, but their identification with the harp is uncertain, and it is not known that he ever visited Scotland. Early images of the clàrsach are not common in Scottish iconography, but a gravestone at Keels, in Argyllshire, dating from about 1500, shows one with a typically large sound box, decorated with Celtic designs. Characteristics and function. In construction, the Irish and Scottish harps may in general be considered as one. A characteristic feature is the metal strings. Historical sources mention various types of wire, including brass and iron. Some scholars also argue for the use of silver and gold. The wires were attached to a massive sound box typically carved from a single log, commonly of willow, although other woods including alder and poplar have been identified in extant harps. This harp also had a reinforced curved pillar and a substantial neck, flanked with thick brass cheek bands. The strings, usually played with the fingernails, produced a brilliant ringing sound. This type of harp is also unique amongst single-row triangular harps in that the first 2 strings tuned in the middle of the gamut were set to the same pitch. Components in Scottish Gaelic. The names of the components of the clàrsach were as follows: amhush, snagan, core, comma, 4-pillar, tudan, crew, idian, nanti-eud, urshnaim. The core had a brass strap nailed to each side, pierced by tapered brass tuning pins. The treble end had a tenon which fitted into the top of the com. On a low-headed harp, the core was mortised at the base end to receive a tenon on the lamh cran. On a high-headed harp, this tenon fitted into a mortise on the back of the lamh cran. The com was usually carved from a single piece of willow, hollowed out from behind. A panel of harder timber was carefully inserted to close the back. Cruidian anti-eud were usually made of brass and prevented the metal strings from cutting into the wood of the sound box. The urshnaim may refer to the wooden toggle to which a string was fastened once it had emerged from its hole in the soundboard. Playing technique. The playing of the wire-strung harp has been described as extremely difficult. Because of the long-lasting resonance, the performer had to dampen strings which had just been played while new strings were being plucked, and this while playing rapidly. Contrary to conventional modern practice, the left hand played the treble and the right the bass. It was said that a player should begin to learn the harp no later than the age of 7. The best modern players have shown, however, that reasonable competence may be achieved even at a later age. Social function and decline. During the medieval period, the wire-strung harp was in demand throughout the Gaelic territories, which stretched from the northern Highlands and Western Isles of Scotland to the south of Ireland. The Gaelic worlds of Scotland and Ireland, however, while retaining close links, were already showing signs of divergence in the 16th century in language, music and social structure. The function of the cláirseach in a Hebridean lordship, both as entertainment and as literary metaphor, is illustrated in the songs of Mary Niclioid, a prominent Gaelic poet of her time. The chief is praised as one who was skilled in judging harp playing, the theme of a story and the pith of sense tuigsa nanti eud, purpe gach sigil, susbaint gach seal nadur. The music of harp and pipe is shown to be intrinsic to the splendor of the MacLeod court, along with wine in shining cups, guaras nac crying. I'm by Garrick Nampiob is nan cláirseach a risla dias ad Nampiosa, cursaria fion is garli jedan neovoishid. Here the Great Highland bagpipe shares the high status of the cláirseach. It would help supplant the harp, and may already have developed its own classical tradition in the form of the elaborate Great Music. An elegy to Sir Donald MacDonald of Clanranald, attributed to his widow in 1618, contains a very early reference to the bagpipe in a lairdly setting, as Iomad Sgal Pibad Mari Faram Land Isnan Ekla, Rin Mi Eyes Dech Td, while, There is evidence that the musical tradition of the cláirseach may have influenced the use and repertoire of the bagpipe. The oral mnemonic system called Cantericht, used for encoding and teaching Ciol Mór, is first mentioned in the 1226 obituary of a cláirseach. Terms relating to theme and variation on the cláirseach and the bagpipe correlate to each other. Founders of bagpipe dynasties are also noted as cláirseach players. The names of a number of the last harpers are recorded. The blind Duncan MacIntyre, who died in 1694, was harper to Campbell of Auchenbreck, but also frequented Edinburgh. A receipt for 2 balls of meal, dated 1683, is extant for another harper, also blind, named Patrick MacIntyre, who apparently played for Lord Neil Campbell. The harper Manus MacShare is mentioned in an account book covering the period 1688 to 1704. A harper called Neilbane is mentioned in a letter, dated 1702 from a servitor of Alan MacDonald of Clanranald. Angus MacDonald, harper, received payment on the instructions of Menzies of Kildare on the 19th of June 1713, and the Marquess of Huntly's accounts record a payment to 2 harpers in 1714. Other harpers include Rory Dahl Morrison, Lachlan Dahl and Murdoch MacDonald. By the middle of the 18th century, the viola had replaced the harper, a consequence, perhaps, of the growing influence in the Gaelic world of Lowland Scots culture. Revival. In the early 19th century, even as the old Gaelic harp tradition was dying out, a new harp was invented in Ireland. It had gut strings and semitone mechanisms like an orchestral pedal harp, and was invented by Dublin pedal harp maker John Egan. It was small and curved like the historical cláirseach or Irish harp, but its strings were of gut and the sound box was much lighter. In the 1890s, a similar new harp was also developed in Scotland as part of a Gaelic cultural revival. There is now, however, renewed interest in the wire-strung harp, or cláirseach, with replicas being made and research being conducted into ancient playing techniques and terminology. Bibliography. Armstrong, Robert Bruce. The Irish and the Highland Harps. Edinburgh. David Douglas. Bannerman, John. The cláirseach and the clàrsach in Scottish Studies, Volume 30, Number 3, 1991. Cathcart, Cynthia. Silver report is precious metal strings on the wire-strung harp in Folk Harp Journal No. 143, Summer 2009, pp. 34-43, available online at http://wire-strung-harp.com. Material, silver_report, HTML. Chadwick, Simon. The Early Irish Harp in Early Music, Volume 36 No. 4, November 2008, pp. 521-532. Farmer, Henry George. A History of Music in Scotland. London, 1947 p. 280. Hayman, Anne and Hayman, Charlie. cláirseach, The Law of the Irish Harp, in Éire Ireland 26 No. 3, Fall 1991. Linnea, Sarah C. It is new strung and shan't be heard. Nationalism and Memory in the Irish Harp Tradition, in British Journal of Ethnomusicology, Volume 8, 1999. O'Brogane, Say Armas, The Irish Harp Emblem. Dublin, Wolfhound Press, 1998, ISBN 0863276350. Roslyn Wrench, Harps and Harpists. Indiana University Press, 1989, pp. 125-127. Rimmer, Joan. The Morphology of the Irish Harp, in Galpin Society Journal, No.